Hello everyone, this is Solomon of Solomonic Demons, and today we're going to be talking about why Japanese Fender made guitars are so good, why they have this really good craftsmanship on it. And yeah, we're gonna be using as an example my Fender Aerodyne Special, and while I've been talking about this, I'm gonna be restringing this guitar, and yep, I'm gonna be putting some Diodario 1046 actually, and I'm gonna be tuning this guitar on E flat. And well,
why Japanese guitars, Fenders, are so good, why these guitars are so mysterious, and at the same time they have a lot of guitars in their own market. Well, to understand a little bit more about this, we gotta go all the way back to the early 70s, to the first years of the CBS era.
You can feel right away the quality of these guitars, you know. It is something that... So these guitars, as you guys can see, have lacking tuner, so it was very easy actually to take out the strings on this guitar. But yes, going back to the topic, like I said,
to the early 70s, to the first years of the CBS era. But this point in the mid-70s, Fender were over a decade into being owned by the TV production company CBS. And this era is recognized as having suffered a dip in quality, or at least inconsistency, in the guitars that were made here in the United States. Other companies were building electric guitars outside of the United States, inspired by Fender, these counterfeits, and some of the Japanese examples made by companies like Tokai and Greco were gaining reputation as being equal or even better than the American originals.
We're gonna be cleaning this guitar a little bit because, as you guys can see, it's kind of dusty over there. But let me remove all the strings first. Now the tremolo of this guitar is a Babix tremolo. It has very cool specifications and it was limited and is actually very unique if we compare it with a regular Fender Stratocaster, right?
In the mid-70s, as well, the steep of the competition from these makers, some companies were flat out copying the guitar designs wholesale. Cheaper to produce and sell, this was called the lawsuit era. Copycats and counterfeits were finding a large and a proven market with players who wanted a little bit of the Fender vibe that was in the early 60s without breaking the bank. This was a problematic time for Fender, but the response was a good one. Like the saying says, if you can beat them, join them. Fender went to the bigger Japanese retailers such as Kanda Chokai and Yamako Gaki and agreed to work together to have officially licensed instruments built and sold in the Japanese market through these companies, instead of selling imitation instruments, copycats, or counterfeit, however you want to call them. So this makes sense also for these Japanese companies, because these companies had previously been commissioning such instruments for sale in their stores, so it made good sense for everyone to drop the copies in favor of a competitive priced line of guitars made by Fender in Japan. Kanda Chokai actually owned the Greco brand anyway.
Greco has been in the market for years as part of the family of the Kanda Chokai company, right? So yeah, it is
And so in partnering with Fender, they agreed to stop building these copycats made by Greco. Fender picked up at the Fujian workshop for the production of these guitars, and from 1982 to 1996, this is where all Fender Japanese guitars were made. The quality of these guitars were exceptional, and the few specimens that we got here in the United States all were amazing. I'm saying few because the Japanese market of guitars by Fender are intended for the domestic market. So over here in the United States, we only catch a few of these rare specimens. One of these is this one, my Fender Aerodyne Special, like I said.
Every time you guys put a string, remember to pull it right, because sometimes the strings get stuck under the hole behind the block of the tremolo. So be careful with that. So like I said, if you can't win, join them, you know. This is something that it has a lot of sense. You know, in the 70s, Fender saw the potential of these guitars, and at some point, one of the brands that didn't actually join Fender was Ibanez. Ibanez started making counterfeits of Gibson and Fenders, and at the end, they decide to make their own designs of Super Strats, also using a Fujigen as a manufacturer, right? So yeah, that's just one example of what we got after the lawsuit era. You know, brands like Ibanez came from these in the Stratocaster bass body of guitar world. They also gained a lot of reputation in the guitars that were based on a single cut model, obviously a Gibson Les Paul. And this is because the quality, like I said, the quality that the Japanese manufacturers were having back then was very impressive and very competitive with the quality that USA manufacturers like Gibson and Fender used to have, you know. And this is something that keeps until today. I mean, I don't think that there is anybody right now that might be watching this video that can tell me, and if you guys ever had a bad experience with a guitar made in Japan, let me know in the comments.
Now, the collaboration with all these companies that were building the guitars in Japan ended up in 2015 with the Fender launch of the Fender Music Corporation in Japan, taking over the Japanese business after April 1 of 2015. Now, Fender tend not to make a high number of Japanese guitars, and they do not always follow the same typical ranges and reissues that we see here with the USA and Mexican-made guitars. So a new delivery of Japanese guitars is always very excitement. Like, once again, for example, this guitar, the Aerodyne Special, it is a very nice example of it. These guitars were limited, and the Aerodyne Specials in particular unfortunately didn't sell well. You can still find these guitars for $600 to $700 new in some stores. So I don't think that the Aerodyne Special is gonna be reissued anytime soon. This one is a great guitar. It didn't do well with the introduction price that they put on this guitar, that was $1,300, so they had to cut the price almost half. And when we talk about imported Fender Stratocasters made, I'm not trying to trash neither the Indonesian squares or the Mexicans or the Mexican made guitars. You know, those are really great guitars, but I will definitely have to say that Japanese craftsmanship is above, especially when we talk about Fender. I had a Fender Stratocaster made in Mexico, a Fender Standard, all the way back in 2006. And with the guitar, I had a couple of issues with the electronics. I was very young, I didn't know how to fix it. I ended up trading the guitar. Later on, about 5 years ago, I bought a Fender Player Stratocaster when those came out. And, you know, it was a great guitar. The Fender Player Stratocaster, it was a great guitar, but I never bonded with that guitar. I never felt that the guitar was having that sound that I was looking for in a Strat. After that, I got a Fender Player Telecaster made in Mexico too, obviously. And with this guitar, I encountered a lot of fret sprout issues. So I had a lot of fret sprout issues. And, you know, I really was gonna give up with Fender guitars that are imported, because after that I decided to move on and I bought my Fender American Performer, and the difference was huge. It was when the Fender HM Stratocaster came out that I decided to try a Japanese guitar made by Fender, and my experience with that guitar was amazing. You know, my thoughts about imported made Fenders totally changed. I started doing my research, even if I talked with a lot of guitar players during the years, and they told me these amazing stories about Fender Stratocasters made in Japan. Even if I played a couple of them in Guitar Center once in a while, the difference was huge if we compare them with either a Square, a Fender Mexican Standard, or a Fender Player. I really got hooked. And later on, when this one came out, the Aerodyne Special, I was like, let me try that one too. The guitar looks cool, let me see how it feels. And, you know, I got in love with this guitar.
So now, as you guys can see, I gotta tune the guitar. And after I finish the tuning of the guitar, like I said, I'm gonna put it on E flat, and let's see how it sounds. And yeah, so I guess this is gonna be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe. So thank you so much. Take care and bye.